Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to today's live session. I'm so excited for the incredible conversation we're going to have today and continuing forward. We're on session number 61, and today there's something I want to talk about which might seem like an antithesis of everything I've been doing up till now, but it's not. Trust me on it. Because the topic of today's video is why most advice never works for you. And while I was scheduling this live session today morning, I was thinking about this question, and it actually arose for me in one of the coaching sessions that I was doing with one of my coaches. And in the conversation, something quite interesting came up. And that person said, well, technically, I did kind of know about this concept before, the idea that we were discussing to help that person unlock their next breakthrough. But they said that all my life, I never thought of it this way. And because I never thought of it in this way, this piece of advice never really worked for me. And that's something we're all often quite a bit afraid to admit because there are a lot of metaphors, a lot of advice, a lot of ideas that are passed down to us, either from our parents or from our school or from our teachers or from somewhere or the other, which shove down our throats only one kind of way of looking at the world that exists. And that's such a limiting perspective because advice does not work the same for everybody. The day we recognize it is the day we can actually start using any and all generic advice out there for our breakthrough. Otherwise, all it will be is a pretty nice sentence that you read and then it's done. Or a pretty cool video that you watch and then it is done. The problem with that is simple. It doesn't know the context of your life. It doesn't know the place from where you're approaching. And I'm going to give you a story and an example to really help you understand what I mean by it and how we can change it. So rather than advice working against you, you can actually gain the discernment to understand what kind of advice is working for you and what kind isn't. So there was once an eagle that wanted to fly, that really wanted to learn, how do I become the best eagle in the world, and how do I fly the highest. And in that world, in the story, eagles have the same kind of crazy ambitions that humans do. Just imagine it for the sake of the story, okay? So there's this baby eagle who wants to be the best eagle in the world, who wants to win the award of the best flying skill in the entire eagle community around the world. He wants to be the top achiever. So he goes to his parents and he says, can you teach me how to fly the best? Can you teach me what I can do to take a leap of faith and to fly and soar across the skies? And they're like, of course, we can show you. That's what we've been doing all this while. So here's what they do, they take the baby eagle to the edge of a cliff. And of course, the baby eagle is scared. What do I do now? What if I fall down and die? And they say, you won't. You have wings after all, right? This is where you learn how to fly. When it's a do or die situation, that is when you bring out your best version and that is when you start to shine. The baby girl is like, okay, yes, that's what I'm going to do. So the parents, they pushed the baby girl off the edge. And for the first 5 to 10 seconds, it was a free fall. The baby girl had no idea what to do. And it had kind of decided, okay, I'm gone here. Let me just accept my fate. This was a foolish decision. But before he knew it, he started expanding his wings. He flapped them rapidly a couple of times and off he was to flying high, and he gained the skill to do the same. Now, this advice worked so well for the baby eagle, right? That it's a do or die situation. Just jump and you will figure it out. We hear this a lot on social media as well. You'll know why I use those exact words. So now, for example, let's take this case study that instead of a baby eagle, let's say it was a baby monkey. And the baby monkey said, I want to fly high too. And I saw that. I saw that the father eagle said to the baby eagle, if you want to fly high, all you need to do is take that leap of faith, jump across, and spread your hands, spread your wings, and you will start to soar high in the sky. And the monkey was like, I want to do that too. So here's what the monkey does. Just like the baby eagle, following the exact same steps, the monkey goes to the edge of the cliff and the monkey jumps. I don't think I need to tell you how the rest of the story unfolded. You already know it. There were no wings. The monkey couldn't fly. The monkey plunged to his death. Same advice, same things, same mindset, same sentence, same intention, yet vastly different outcomes because in the baby monkey's case, context was missing. He didn't know, oh, he's not meant to fly. He doesn't have the wings. That particular advice doesn't apply to him. Yet, how crazy of it is of us to think that any random thing you read on Instagram is a truth for your rest of your life. Yes, it can relate to you, and if it does, perfect, well and good. Go ahead with it. Please make it happen. But learn to take things in context rather than just looking at the content. Now, there's so much advice online around entrepreneurship and how to be the best entrepreneur. And they say, burn the boats, burn the bridges. As long as you keep a safety net alive, you'll never ever fully become an entrepreneur. Learn to take the risk. Only real entrepreneurs can take risks. That's BS advice. If you read any management book, if you read any business book, if you read any thinking or strategy book for some of the biggest strategists in the world, you will know that real entrepreneurs aren't great at taking risks. They're great at risk management. There's a huge difference between these two ideas. Yet, no, what a lot of us want to do is we want to go out there and build a business. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be on top of Forbes magazine. YC is going to fund me. Yet the fundamental of the idea is not even clear. And based on just that whimsy, I've seen people in their 20s make some of the most foolish decisions to build a business thinking that they are the next Steve Jobs when they are not, when their idea is not productive enough, when their idea is not innovative enough, only for them to 2 years later fall to the ground, fall flat, and say, this thing doesn't really work. The advice works, but in context. Now, for example, I'll give you an example here from the business world only where risks are higher and we can understand this better. You can apply this in every context of your life as well. Now, there's this person named Andrew Grove. He was the CEO of Intel Corporation in 1995. And he's written a beautiful book called Only the Paranoid Survive. Highly recommended read. It's incredible of the grit it takes to be an entrepreneur, but not just the grit, the mindset, the strategy as well. He's an incredible leader by that stance. In 1995, Intel company was facing one of the most gravest challenges and backlashes in its history. The crisis of their products was so big that it could have driven the company into the ground. And at that time, Andrew Grove took a risk. He thought long term. He saw all the different perspectives that could be there. And he decided, you know what? I'm going to publicly take the loss. I'm going to publicly admit that whatever went wrong with our chips, we take full responsibility for that. Intel, out of pocket, paid $500 billion to correct that one mistake, which wouldn't even affected computers in I think 2800 or something years. I'm not sure about the number, but when you read the first chapter of the book, you'll see what the number is that I'm talking about regarding the Pentium chip crisis. In fact, you read about it on Google, you'll find more information as well. Andrew Grove took that risk. Any strategist would have said, oh no, this is not the right thing to do. But Andrew Grove knew that taking the loss was the only way to save Intel because in that moment, only the financial records didn't matter. The reputational records mattered more. It was okay for the finances to take a hit so that the reputation of the company could survive. And if the reputation survived, the finances would revive. Now, that thinking is what led Andrew Grove to making such an unconventional decision, which we could consider like, let's say, a burn the bridges kind of decision, right? He took a big risk. Now, on the other hand, I want to give you an example of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, who are business partners who lead the firm Berkshire Hathaway. And they're some of the most incredible investors the world has ever seen. The way they invest, the way they choose companies, the way they empower businesses is unlike anything that we've ever seen before. I mean, that level of value investing and believing in people is something a lot of investors do not do. But Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, they did. And as a result of that, they've not invested in any big technology stocks till now. Sounds crazy. But that's the truth. I think Apple is the one that they invested in. I'll have to confirm, but I think that's the one. Apart from that, they stick to what they know. They know what their risks are, they know what their ideas are, they play it safe. Now, anybody could say, oh, they are not an entrepreneur, they're just playing it safe. Check the valuations of the company, check the valuations of their insurance business, check the price of Berkshire Hathaway share, and you will be shocked. The company is doing so good, it's fundamentally stronger than 90% of the hyped up businesses out there because it works on fundamentals. Now, to anyone out there, they could think that Warren Buffett is a poor entrepreneur because he's not following the entrepreneurial spirit that Andrew Grove followed by burning the bridges. Warren Buffett doesn't need to burn the bridges. That's the thing. He can survive well without having to burn them. He knows what his context and what his business demands, what he wants and what he doesn't want, and because he has clarity on all those factors, nothing in the world can sway him. Everybody wanted to convince Andrew Grove to play it safe and he decided to take the $500 billion loss. But he knew that's what would save the company because he had that clarity. He could make the decision. But if they just followed generic pieces of advice, would their life be where it is today? Not at all. Same thing goes for our relationships. I mean, relationships are so complex, they have so much context involved in them. I realize it as I've worked with people on their relationships. It could look like, okay, two different couples have marriage problems. But what marriage problem means to one couple is something completely different from what it means to another couple. And so, there, if I apply the same advice to both, and I suggest both of them to do the same thing, one couple is going to be happy, the other is going to be divorced. Not because the advice doesn't work, because the context was different. The understanding required to deal with the situation was different. And as a coach, that's what I'm able to bring, because of which people feel that they're finally heard and that they finally can get their breakthrough. Now, it baffles me, and it kind of, the only thing that worries me is as AI is getting stronger, right? We're losing this ability to read the context even more. Rather than even figuring out where we are, we just dump everything about ourselves onto chat GPT and say, okay, give me a business strategy or give me a career plan or analyze my astrology chart or whatever it may be. I've seen people do a lot of different things with AI. People use AI as a therapist now as well. Chat GPT is a therapist for so many people. I was pretty shocked to learn that fact. But again, the thing there is, we are missing context. All it can do is give generic advice, wrap it up in a pretty contextual way, but then it doesn't work. And then you're like, why is my life not working? So, for once, if we are not the eagle, can we stop following the advice that do or die is the way to go ahead? If we are the eagle, can we stop following the advice that staying in the trees and eating bananas is the only way to live? Above all, can we take the time to find out who we are rather than just solving our problems, which is a never ending cycle? Once we find out who we are, we become the best version of ourselves every single day. So, this is why generic advice doesn't work for you. It misses out on context, it misses out on reality. And something that works for you might as well be the worst thing for someone else to do. Something that works for someone else could be the worst thing to do for you. That does not mean the thing is wrong, that only means the context is different. And the day you realize this, oh my God, so many of your problems disappear, your challenges disappear, your grudges and your misunderstandings with the world, they completely disappear. And as a result of that, you start living the happy life you've always dreamed of. So I hope this was helpful. I hope today's conversation has given you more clarity on what are the things that may be going wrong in the way you are following advice. And your assignment or a task, if you'd like to take up for today, is think about all the generic pieces of advice you've been blindly following that may not be serving you the most. And do a bit of the hard work of thinking, of finding out what's the context here? What am I missing out? And how can I make sure that this is aligned to who I am, not just a generic piece of advice that could take me to the ground? As you build this awareness, as you build in this context, as you build in this habit of looking at things from multiple angles rather than just one, you will become a much better judge of people, character, yourself, circumstances, and everything else. You will gain the discernment to make the right decisions at the right time, not because you're fooled by advice, but because you can consult your heart and you can consult yourself and know that you're coming up with the right decision. But that confidence comes with practice of being one with yourself first and creating this honesty, creating this contextual understanding of who you really are and how you fit into the world, and how all of that relates as a system to the uniquely individual life you're living. And that's where you'll realize, oh my God, generic advice doesn't work. Specific one does. And you'll be able to start creating that magic for yourself. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you once again tomorrow at the same time. That is 8:30 p.m. IST. Till then, keep thinking about it. And I'm sure this will help you a lot. Bye. Talk to you soon.